Today, Her Excellency, the Dr. Queen Blessing Itua, by that which she has been emboldened, beautified, empowered with in the face of her creative expression, has gathered us here in this side event for what is a premiere of an anti-human trafficking movie, Mrs. Adams, and a book presentation, an empowerment book, We Are the Blessings of Africa. As a declamative, without any question, this distinguished recipient of the President Barack Obama Lifetime Achievement Award for Excellence in Service today combines both her diaspora as well as her local content in that which has become a globally defined creative investment. To her world, to our global society, without any question, when it comes to the story of human trafficking, it is an experience that we, as a global society, confronted with, are very deliberate and intentional about working solutions and driving the interventions from the United Nations to the place of our community-driven security initiatives. Tonight, even as we shall be going forward with the rest of the program, it is good that you and I, in our own space, in our own place of very deliberate decision to make a change and create a better society globally, are determined to be the eyes, the ears, most importantly, the voices that give expression to what is a tragedy of our global environment in this millennial world. As we now invite for the welcome remarks, His Excellency, Professor Tijjani Bande, OFR, our Nigerian permanent representative of Nigeria to the UN. I once again welcome everyone. And remember, it's an experience carrying forward to a place of truly translating impact in our own interventions. Please help me welcome and receive for the welcome remarks His Excellency, Professor Tijjani Bande, OFR.
Not joyful in that the subject itself is a very unpleasant one. Something that we wish we would not have to speak about. Something that we wish didn't happen anywhere in the world, which is human trafficking. And I'm here on behalf of the mission, not only to welcome all of you, but to also celebrate the work of the artist who has brought this as her contribution. I say her contribution because what we need is that in many ways, people are contributing, but everyone has a unique way of making a contribution. This is her own way of contributing. And what we need is a momentum to push this matter forward, not one-off event. Let it be that every day, in every way possible, when you see what is not right, you insist it's not right, and you fight against it. In whatever way you can, let there be a momentum for change in a positive light. I will not want to be in between you and the other presentations and the movie itself, but rather to welcome you to this very important premiering. Thank you very much.
This is a very sobering but very necessary prioritized message by way of the presentations that we shall be watching and we shall be presenting this evening. I was at the point of doing my registration and Judith told me two things. When you come for this experience at the UN Women's General Assembly, two things you do. One, enjoy yourself, and two, go with your instinct. Tonight, it's about the instinct that became a creative exploit. And once again, as we appreciate and celebrate Dr. Queen Blessing Itua, I would now like to invite to come up to give the goodwill message, the representative of Her Excellency, here represented, I understand right now, the representation will be handled by, once again, we invite from the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, Director Women and Gender, Mrs. Afiu Annette Ann.
Dr. Queen, from all indications, I can see you are an inspirational author, because I just opened the book, I saw that, oh, a lot of young people are going to be inspired. I tell you that it's not flattering. And your passion for addressing social and economic empowerment, as well as your compassion for supporting the most vulnerable, especially the abused and abandoned women and children who are prone to human trafficking, mostly, yes, in Nigeria. These are the groups that are very, very prone to human trafficking. It's highly, highly appreciated. And the minister has said that, look, anyway, anywhere, whether she's still the minister, she hopes to be the governor of Taraba State come the next 2019, call on her, she will be there to support you. Because human trafficking is all over Nigeria now, though to be more endemic in some part, but it's all over Nigeria, both within and outside Nigeria. She's ready to support you. She's a phone call away. Your outstanding performance, she noticed, she said, let you know, yes, obviously brought you the award and the recognition you have received so far, especially in the international arena. And that has done Nigerian women and African women proud. And we hope you will continue to motivate our young Nigerian girls, African women, to change the narratives, negative stories that is about Nigeria and Africa in the Western world, in Europe and America. Because that is all we hear. Oh, Nigerians are this, Africans are this. They don't really tell us the good about our Nigerian and Nigerian women, like you. But we just hear it passively when such things happen, but they don't blow it the way they blow that little mistake, I would say, that the Nigerian person does. So, but with you and your kind of work, we know you're going to help change the narratives, going to encourage your lives, and we know we're going to hope and see a better stories about Nigeria and Africa with your kind of work. Please continue to do us proud, and so that we will have better stories to tell. On her behalf, the Nigerian women, the Nigerian populace wish you the best. More grace to your elbow. We will continue to support you. We have our mission here, which already started, and they are leading the way. Tell you, we'll continue to support you whatever way we can. Please feel free to be with us and talk to us. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Our Nigerian blessing of Africa. Africa is a continent that, in many references in literature, is referred to as the dark continent. But truly, it is only in the place of darkness that the brightest lights shine. And that is how come, when it comes to the destiny of a generation of daughters, women, that are unearthed in the place of their dreams, their aspirations, and their very distinctive ambitions, that it is priority and a cause noble for us as a nation, Nigeria, to pursue and to articulate those interventions that bring human trafficking to an end in our world. Right now, I'd like to invite you to please come up with that profiling of the subject matter with her own subject by way of her professional and appointed assignment as the Director General of NAPTIP, Dame Julie Okah-Donli. Please let's welcome her as she now takes us through those words profiling both the magnitude and interventions of Nigeria and our way forward. Welcome.
I'm actually meant to talk about the negative impact of human trafficking for sexual exploitation and forced labor on the social and economic life circumstances and development of women, especially in rural communities of Nigeria. But first of all, I would like to define human trafficking. Human trafficking can be defined as that act of recruitment, transporting, harboring of human beings with the aim of exploiting either sexually for forced labor, for the purpose of organ harvesting, through force, deceit, abduction, or fraud. The various forms of human trafficking are sexual exploitation, forced labor, and the consequences of these are the violation of human rights. The most recent is that of organ harvesting, which has actually been going on for a while. There's so many people waiting for transplants, and so they go to the black markets to buy the organs. And so now with human trafficking, people buy men, women, boys and girls and do whatever they want to do with them for various purposes, for sexual purposes, for the purpose of taking their organs off them and using them for whatever purpose, or even selling them outrightly. Now the consequences of these are the violation, it's the gross violation of the human rights of the victims. The most demeaning things are done to them. We've rescued quite a number of girls and boys who were trafficked, and when they tell you the gory tales that have happened to them, I mean, you would not just imagine, you know, the length at which human beings can go, you know, with other human beings. All of them have been sexually harassed, sodomized, everything unthinkable you can think of. I mean, you cannot even imagine, you cannot even comprehend. All sorts of objects have gone in and out of their bodies. Some of them come back with all sorts of conditions, you know, some treatable, some not treatable, and so on and so forth. It's really degrading and dehumanizing. It leads to a loss, you know, or deprivation of your rights, you know, because I mean everything is lost, you know, when you're a victim of trafficking. And I want to quickly say something here. You know, I feel really, really sad when I hear women, you know, describe victims as prostitutes. They are sexually exploited victims. They are not prostitutes. Some victims who managed to escape gave a narrative of what happened when they ran to one of the embassies. I'm not going to mention it. And instead of finding succor in the embassy, she was rebuked and said, "I didn't send you to come and do a shower walk here." That was the most dehumanizing thing anyone can do to them. That is double jeopardy. Somebody has been sexually exploited and she runs to you for succor, and you dare call her a prostitute. That's the very, I don't even know what words you used to describe that. I was heartbroken when I heard that. A prostitute works for herself and calls the shots. But somebody who is sexually exploited does not work for herself. She works for someone else. She does not even have the freedom, or does not even have access to the money. So those are two different things that you need to be really well informed about this and be more, you know, helpful to victims when you see them. Even the protocol says that a victim is to be treated as a victim and not a criminal, no matter the offense the victim commits as a status of a victim. The personal health risk like HIV, AIDS, hepatitis A, B, C, tuberculosis, all sorts of diseases you cannot imagine. they come down with them because they're exposed. You know, most of them are not allowed to use any form of prevention, and so whatever they get from the men, you know, who engage them, they have to live with it. Not to talk of unwanted pregnancies. Last week I had 2 babies in my shelter in Abuja. We deliver babies almost every day. Some of them come back pregnant with HIV, some of them full-blown AIDS and all of that. And so these are some of the things that happens. Psychological problems, some of them come back sick, mentally sick. And so we have to refer them to the mental hospitals because they are traumatized, they've been beaten, raped, abused, and so on and so forth. Now you talk of the stigmatization, just like what I explained some few minutes ago, where people who are supposed to be helpful, you know, turn them back and call them all sorts of names. Sometimes they don't even want them back in their communities. So we have to go there to counsel the family members. And if we see it's not safe for them to return, we keep them with us in our shelters. Of course, it disrupts a lot of things, their schooling, all sorts of things, you know, it disrupts their social life. And so sometimes they are not able to cope. But luckily, sometimes after the counseling sessions, they are able to start a new life again. The social and economic consequences, public sector corruption. Pastor, are you a pastor or pastor's wife? Benjamin said something about seeing some girls, you know, at the airports. But the question you should have asked is, how were they able to get on board the plane? Who were those at the airports that are supposed to make sure that people like that do not go through the airports? Underage girls, we rescue underage girls almost every day at the airports, and we take them back to our shelters, and we try to arrest the perpetrators. But sometimes the perpetrators work with the officials who are meant to protect people at the airports. And so they help, they connive with them, and they make them disappear. So we should be looking closely at those who are made to man those airports and the borders. Unfortunately, NAPTIP does not man the airports, but we are trying to make a case to Mr. President to ensure that NAPTIP officials are at the airports and at the borders, and see if there's going to be a difference. Now, you know, when human trafficking also leads to irregular migration, and then of course all sorts of crimes, you know, like drug trafficking, arms smuggling, because they are easy targets to be used. Since they don't have control of themselves, they are being controlled by the traffickers, they use them to commit all sorts of crimes. And that is why the Palermo Protocol stipulates. Of course, it also undermines the human capital development, because there's a flight of human capital. Everyone is migrating, leaving Nigeria. Of course, after they've been deceived that there's better life out there, and that young boys and girls are leaving the country and going to other countries and being used, all the money is being made out of them. And when they are done with them, they bring them, those that are almost half dead, they repatriate them back while the fresh commodities, as they call them, are being taken there. The question I ask them in countries of destination is, with all the cutting-edge technology you have, how did they enter your country? Yeah. I ask them that question because, of course, there's corruption. The law enforcement agents are also corrupt, not just in the country of origin, but also in the country of destination. And because it's so much money, there's so much business, it's a $150 billion business. That's just a rough estimate. And so corruption is one of the major factors. And that is why I'm propagating, and I'm hoping everyone will join me in the fight to close down every shelter, every reception center or detention center, as they call it. Because that is the beginning of human trafficking. In the so-called centers where they keep irregular immigrants, that is where people go and buy them, that is where sex takes place, and that is where all the money exchanges hands. So if you do not want the migrants in your country, send them back to their countries. Don't keep them in any shelter, in any detention centers. You know, so those are the things that we should be advocating for. Of course, it depletes the young girls in the community, and it leads to future insecurity through social breakdown and exclusion. It promotes money laundering and other financial, which can distort the economy and bring about a negative image for the country. Of course, there's economic flight, all the money is being made there, there's insecurity, and of course, inequality. The responses to trafficking in persons, the domestication of UNTOC, that's the United Nations Convention on Transnational Organized Crime, the establishment of NAPTIP in 2003. NAPTIP tackles human trafficking through what we call the 5 Ps: the policy, prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. And one of the things we are trying to do now, whilst prosecuting the offenders, we try to follow the money. Because if you follow the money and you cripple them economically to make it unattractive for them to continue in that business, we prevent human trafficking through sensitization programs, the protection of victims of trafficking by rescuing them and putting them in our shelters. We have 10 shelters attached to our offices. Every office has a shelter. We have 10 offices in 10 states with 10 shelters where the children victims are counseled. The medicals are taken care of. Some of them go back to formal education. Some are trained, skill acquisition training. And of course, after the rehabilitation, we empower them and slowly reintegrate them back into the society. And of course, we partner. We partner with all of society and all of government, from the local government upwards, from the faith-based organizations, the civil service organizations, the media, NGOs, and all of that, the law enforcement agents and everyone like that. So far, we've rescued and rehabilitated over 13,000 victims. We've prosecuted about 339 traffickers, and we've rehabilitated over 7,000 victims as well. We engage, of course, with all of society, like I said before. We also have a program as part of our sensitization drive. Every Wednesday on AIT, Wednesday International, at 8:30 p.m. we have radio jingles, we have papers that we, materials. We have sensitization materials that we distribute, schools, everywhere, everything you can think of, when it comes to sensitization. Because for us, prevention is better than cure. We try to prevent it by sensitizing everyone. And of course, now we're trying to change the mindset of our youths who think that anything outside Nigeria is the best. They think when they go abroad, there's work waiting for them, there's money everywhere, so we need to change the mindset of our youths now, and we're trying to do that, to make them, first of all, believe in their country and believe in themselves, and hopefully when they start having that, comfort, they will think twice before traveling out. In conclusion, I'd like to say sexual exploitation and forced labor are two components of trafficking. They are both forms of exploitation, which portend negative consequences to victims in particular, and the society in general. The active collaboration of individuals, states, and non-state actors in Nigeria and in the diaspora as well as the civil society is required for effective combating of the crime of human trafficking. People refer to this as modern-day slavery, but I tell you there's nothing modern about it. It's been going on since time immemorial, and it's still going on. It never stops. It's just that it's taking another dimension with a higher magnitude. And with the support from all parties, the global war against human trafficking will be victorious. And together we can. Thank you.
Dr. Queen Blessing Itua has taken what is a heart-breaking social-cultural phenomenon and turned it into a story that touches us where it must touch us. But let's hear it from her, coming from her experience, coming from her place of empowerment and emboldenment. In movie and in the book, it's a story that we now translate into action. Put your hands together once again and help me welcome Dr. Queen Blessing Itua, inspirational author, international advisor, developmental advocate, Unlocking the Blessing Code ambassador, passionate and passionate for making a woman everything that she needs to be as a blessing of Africa. We celebrate and congratulate you.
I'm truly, truly grateful to have every one of you here. The mission, thank you so much for your support. Oh my God, let me not go there right now. But let's get to work because we have work ahead of us. You've heard from the NAPTIP. Every one of us knows that there are issues in Africa. So I will not take too much of the issue, spend time talking about that. I want to introduce us to the movie that I shot in Europe and in Nigeria. It is about human trafficking, but I will walk through the movie because of time. It's actually about 1.5 hours, but we don't have the time. So I will take about 20 minutes at most. But please permit me to walk through. Then you can, hopefully, as I walk you through, you will understand what the movie is about. But this, beyond the movie is the actual message, because we must engage. We must keep talking about this until we eradicate human trafficking. Thank you all. Please pay attention as we turn to the movie. You can take another 3,000 euros more. When do you want to travel?
So within the court previous times, I'm often yet needs to more precise.
Good for you. What about preparations for the upcoming event?
Yeah. Jim is around. He's going to have coordination ceremonies on my behalf. I haven't given up. Fix things up.
Okay. Dzonzi is one favor.
Minutes.
I need very decent girl who can cook Nigerian dishes in the restaurants.
Okay. But you know the rules. That call for some more money, some cash.
You don't have to remind me, but
You know your job, your hobby.
okay, now that particular scene right there was discussion about going. The madam is a rich one in Europe, so she wants a Nigerian girl who can cook. That is what she's thinking, what she's saying, but that is not exactly what she wants. Our goal is to get a girl into human trafficking, we shall see. So let's see this in Nigeria now, how it's
You want to finish this now? When are you going to abandon this thing and finish it?
You know, sometimes when you talk, the best thing one can do is just to give you a staff that can continue surrounding you. What's your point?
Look at you that I'm an expert.
My friend, shut up! You didn't have nothing. You don't know it's bad I used to find something. One guy nothing.
They're funding that eating your finishing.
How is that a business?
I'm helping you to even to making you to funding this thing finish. You know, madam, how is wicked. You come and see you hanging and chopping the air there.
What was she saying?
You don't thank you, exactly.
You think I'm afraid of your madam? Is your madam maybe you can ever?
If madam comes in now, will you not behave in your? You think I'm scared? You don't know the person. No.
Come on here, come tell me rubbish. I can do what I want to do. Let madam come. You tell me that my name is not Tawobo. That's why I'm talking rubbish. I put it in my... I found it that... What does it do that?
What are you doing?
Today, what do you think I'm doing? Are you
trying to finish the food? You were going to be family, you are not eating it.
What's your problem? If I come and eat, is it not a job? She said, workshop. When you work, that's when you shop. So I'm doing exactly what my work description says, workshop. How does that concern you? You are very stupid sometimes.
Nigerian young girls who want to go into that. And like it's been already brought out, we know that it is because of the way the perception is that coming abroad is where you get your greener pastures. So with this movie, my goal is, I'm actually a public health practitioner. My goal as a public health practitioner is prevention and awareness, education. So we all, each and every one of us has a responsibility. We must know the indicators and know the state, the things to look out for. We all have to be educated. And if it's happening to somebody else and not your child or not you, does not mean it's not happening. And so we cannot turn a blind eye or a deaf ear. So my goal is to have the movie and hopefully the books and all the other things I've worked on in the rural, in the schools and communities in Africa, not just Nigeria. So together we can actually fight and eradicate human trafficking. It's not a good thing to happen to anyone, boy or girl. We have a responsibility. Thank you for watching.
Women are the one being used to carry our young girls out of our country in the name of other things, but end up to be prostitution. So we can see the saying that we are not our sisters' keepers is being practiced by our women. Politically, you see that when it comes to politics, campaign and election, women would rather campaign and vote for the men than vote for our fellow women. So from here, where do you think we are going? Are we moving forward? Or we are stagnant? Or we are going backward? It's very confusing. Very, very confusing when you look at what is happening around us as women. So I think the way forward is for us to look inward, to know that we are our sisters' keepers, to work in the interests of women. Women should work in the interests of women. And this is one way I think we can go forward. And this can be done through education, through awareness creation on evil things, some evil deeds that we know are detriment to our lives and the younger ones at work as well. At this point, let me congratulate my sister, Dr. Queen. I first met Dr. Queen in January this year, precisely on the 18th of January, when she visited Nigeria and led a delegation of our collective feature comprising of delegation from US, Middle East, and China. They visited Nigeria and requested to meet with Her Excellency, the wife of the President. They were received at the presidential villa, and in fact, by the time they were able to tell us their mission, we come to realize that all their strategies in terms of empowerment, in terms of development, all fall within the strategy of Her Excellency's Future Assured program. Her Excellency, the First Lady or the wife of the President, became very impressive with their work and their desire to collaborate with her, the work she's doing under the Future Assured program. I wish to congratulate Dr. A also. As a writer myself, I know what it is to sit down and think about documenting, even if it's just your one-day experience, but not only that, but go extra mile to find yourself in a different world and create what you think would be useful to humanity. I think it's not an easy task. And I think you are doing very well here in the United States. And to be somebody who was able to receive a lifetime achievement award of former President Obama, I think it is not just for you, it's for Nigeria and for the Nigerian women. On this note, it is my pleasure to say that I'm happy to be part of this event and also to have known Dr. Queen, and most importantly to represent Her Excellency, the wife of the President, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, at this very important event. Thank you very much.
Solutions. Our solutions. I always say that our problems, all our problems, whether individually or collectively, are solutions. And solution is in our hands. But as we work together with our men, we are stronger together, and hopefully we will be able to eradicate our own issues or at least minimize something, right? Okay, thank you all. We are all in West Africa. Oh my God! Okay. Oh my God! Wow!
And who are the
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Okay, listen.
Look at this!
Hello, madam. Hello.
Thank you. Wow!
So